2021. Present at the front table to my far left is Jessica Vitale, a voting member.
Good evening.
Next to Jessica is Ed McGargy, a voting member. To my right, Bill Rhodes, voting member. Next to Bill is Jesse Poynton, voting member. Next to Jesse will be Kelly Kirk, and I give her a different title each time we have these meetings, so we'll just call her the Director of, I know it's zoning, Margie. And Margie Buchanan, also with the Codes Department. Bill Malone, over there, our solicitor. We have one continued case, one new case this evening. And before we begin, Bill, would you please lead us to the pledge?
Sure.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Our continued case is Z 21-31, Empirical Finance LLC, doing business as Alpha Architect, equitable owner of 19 East Eagle Road, PADC folio number 2203-00811100, who seeks a variance from the provision section 182-707 to allow office space with no dedicated off-street parking where one space for each 200 square foot floor area is required. Property is zoned C3 and located in the third ward. And we had our initial hearing in this matter, and the record was left open for the submission of a few additional exhibits.
You know the copies of 8.4 and 8.5?
I have.
The architect is proposing as the usage and office areas and things like that. Then the last exhibit
Thank you.
is a copy of the lease that we have signed with Grace Chapel, or ETF Architects has. It's a 20-year lease term for 30 parking spots over at Grace Chapel. It is only terminable if Grace Chapel sells, which we heard Mr. Brown testify last time that they don't have any of that in the near future, so. That's really it. And if you go through Exhibit A4, I'll just page through here real quick and show you the second sheet of that, and I have it blown up. Shows the different areas as far as.
Let's hold on
I'm
one
sorry,
second.
sure.
Billy, if you could you may recall this. I think we already had an exhibit marked A4, a 10-page.
We may have.
You want to see this? This is what I had
You're
marked.
right, I did not. Let's change that to, if you can, A5.
Okay. So,
A5 and A5.
so it's A5, and then A5, yeah, A5A, and A5C.
Yep. And A5D, and then A6 would be the lease.
And Kelly or Bill, do you have the file, the exhibit for the file? These new exhibits.
I just handed them to the court reporter.
Okay,
Yes,
so-
and everybody has a copy.
Did you get the remarking? So his new A4 really is A5 and the lease is A6. Okay, cool. We'll make sure the records file is correct. Okay.
So if I, and I'll call Jack up here in a minute to testify real quickly, but the second page, A5A, is actually list the areas shown on the diagram, the floor plan, as well as the square footage of each area. And when I added it up, it was 5,900 and some odd square feet. But I think, and when Jack added it up, it was 6,000 and I think 16 feet. So we're right about maybe a hair over 6,000 square feet, which would mean 31 parking spots, and the lease is for 30. So, and if you flip real quick, I'll go to it here, on the diagrams, really the A5, let me see what it says down at the bottom, A5. A5D shows the diagram of the space. We're not going to do anything to the bathrooms in the back, really nothing, and to the reception areas up front, but it shows the lounge area that Jack described, as well as meeting spaces in general that'll be broken up into offices. And then essentially the right-hand side of the page of the building will be covered with offices with walls and a couple eating areas and things like that. As far as that, I think the lease is pretty self-explanatory. It's only terminable if Grace Chapel sells. They didn't want to encumber the property with a parking lot lease, but that would give us an opportunity to go, if that ever occurs, to look at some other options, and maybe to address the people coming in to see if we can work the same sort of a lease deal with them. But again, we believe we have enough public parking in the areas around there to also support the needs of say, 10 to a dozen employees. So if that's okay with the board, I'll call up Jack Vogel one more time, ask him to testify.
Okay.
And then we may call up Paul Brown if you want to hear their side of the lease, Grace Chapel side of the lease, and then we should be through.
The lease is signed.
Yes, the lease is executed, docu-signed.
Hello, Jack.
Hi, how you guys doing?
Good, how are you?
Doing well?
Jack, I was just going to ask you to take a look at what we've got up there, A4.
Yep.
Work the computer, just scroll down, just
Yeah.
describe to the board what, you know.
You said A4, but it's A5D.
A5D, I understand.
I'm sorry.
Yep,
It's okay.
yeah. Yeah, so, yeah, I mean, A5 essentially was just to show you the square footage, which essentially is how we got the 30 parking spots, right? Because that was a exact question I think Ed had last time, so we gave you the exact square footage. That's how we got 30 parking spots. A5, and then I forget exactly who, but someone asked, what are your plans to do with the office? So this is just a markup of the high-level idea. So offices on the one side, the other side's going to be reception, like a lounge area for our employees, and then a meeting space.
And again, how many employees are you foreseeing in the future?
But we currently have, like in this area, 12.
Okay. All right, and you do have a designer picked out that if you close on the property and we get approval, you're going to go ahead and formally design the offices? I'm sorry. That's just confusing me. Yes, and you do have a designer lined up. What are your plans?
Yeah, I mean, this is the high-level thing we've talked about with the designer, but we haven't paid any designer yet because we don't own the building yet, so.
But this is what you want.
Yeah.
So when you meet with your designer, you're going to say, here's our concept.
Pretty much, yep.
Make it look nice.
Yeah, I mean, if I design it, I'm just going to build walls, so someone else will probably make it look nicer.
So, and then the lease, if you could, Jack, just over the main.
Yeah, yeah, so the lease, which again is A6, basically is a 20-year lease that is only terminated if Grace Chapel sells the building. So, and it's signed by both parties. So that was what we had hoped last week to have, or 2 weeks ago to have, but now we have it. So we do have a 20-year lease for parking for 30 spots, which is the square footage from A5.
And George, just for the record, how long has Grace Chapel been there?
Oh, my grandmother went there when she was 30, so she's 70 years.
110 years.
110. 110 years.
Okay.
So, that's really all the questions I have.
Okay.
Anyone else have questions?
Jessica?
I don't have it.
Ed?
The question, there are two things. One, it says non-exclusive. Does the lease prohibit the church from entering agreements with any other businesses?
No, it does not, because it's non-exclusive.
That's what I'm saying. So now you have a non-exclusive use of 30 parking spots that they could lease to 10 different people.
In theory, yeah.
Also, the lease says something about the farmer's market. The last I thought I heard testimony that there would not be a farmer's market there any longer.
No, I believe that's incorrect. They still plan on having the farmer's market.
I did not hear that. Okay.
My notes indicate Wednesday afternoons is the farmer's market, but maybe I missed something. Well, we can ask.
Yeah. And I think one reason it's not exclusive is because the lease with the farmer's market already exists, so it can't be an exclusive lease unless we kick them out.
Yeah, like we couldn't negotiate that because they already have something with the farmer's market. So,
But I think we have provisions in there that of notification and usage and things like that that should prevent any substantial problems.
Is that it?
So,
Billy?
No, well, you tell me whether it should be this witness or another witness. The question on the lease is, how many parking spots are at the Grace Church parking lot, and how many is Grace Church required to have for its own operations on its own site under the zoning code?
I would think Grace Chapel is grandfathered in since they're 110 years old. But they do have 66 non-handicapped parking spots, so we're taking less than half.
Understood. But if they weren't grandfathered in, because I'm not sure that they are, but if they weren't, for a church, and maybe Kelly, and maybe this is a question to you, for the size of the church, or by whatever other, metric that we use to measure parking for institutional use, like a church, in this district, how many of their parking spots do they have, which I understand they have a surplus, but would they be required to have for their own use?
That's a great question, and I cannot confirm that they have a surplus. I don't know how many seats they have, which is how the institutional meeting places are calculated. They are likely grandfathered if they do, or
Yeah, I
an
understand.
existing legal nonconformity.
Right.
If they are, if they are under, I don't know that they are, because it does exist prior to the current zoning code. But when they're adding these additional spaces to that would put them over the amount that that they need. I don't know. I have not seen anything saying.
And George, you understand the reason I'm asking the
Yes.
question, right? It's great that you guys got the lease, right? It's definitely helpful for your application. The question is if we give full credit to that lease, in other words, are we shunting a problem in front of your building or around your building into a parking problem that the church then might have in the neighborhood behind the church, where overflow parking would roll into that neighborhood looking for parking because the church doesn't have the space that it really needs? That's the reason I'm asking the question.
yeah, and the only thing I'd say on that is that's why, like if there's like a funeral or something, we know that we can't.
We heard that
Yeah.
testimony. I know it's part of the record that if
Yeah.
that they have the ability to keep you out
Yeah.
of your non-exclusive use
Yep.
as they need it for church.
That's correct.
All
Yep.
right, I understand. I'm just kind of wondering,
Yeah,
in the
I understand.
grand scheme of things, where we're balancing the influx of employees here into this building, which, is great and all that, just whether we're creating a little bit of a problem somewhere else on the other, maybe on the other side of the church.
Yeah.
Well, I'll give you my personal opinion. There's already a huge problem there. That area of the township is just, everyone who comes in there doesn't have enough parking. The zoning is just not appropriate for the current use and the current parking situation. So, one of the things we need to do, and I've told the people at ETF, is we're going to try to change the zoning code in that area. Because, I think anybody who would move in there I think everyone who has moved in there, let me put it that way, over the past 2-3 years has had to come and ask for assistance from parking. So, that's, I hate to say it, but that's the reality of that area right there.
Yep, understood.
Yep.
And,
Yeah.
I think that's already part of the record. I just
Yep.
was wondering, the one fact that we didn't have as part of the record was if the church were brand new and they were building on that site, how many parking spots would they need without a variance to be an institutional meeting house, right?
If I recall the ordinances correctly, I think it's one space for every 5 feet of pews for churches. But and I forget what, I was looking through my papers, I don't have that with me. But I think it's a lot of spots.
One space for every 3 fixed seats because they're pews.
Okay,
I'd say that 5 feet is probably pretty fair.
One space for every 5 linear feet of,
It's one space for every 3 fixed seats, but we're not talking about like stadium seating where it's an obvious individual
yeah,
seat.
yeah.
So, we could, go by the
Okay.
occupancy limit, instead, but,
Well, that might be different, though,
Yeah.
than parking. So it may not be this witness, then maybe the question reserve,
Sure.
how many pew seats?
okay,
I'll reserve that question.
okay.
That's it. Thank you, Tom.
Jesse?
Yes. So in reference to Exhibit A5A, which is the listing of, it says occupancy per room?
Yes, that was actually a fire code egress diagram, so they were calculating, I believe, that chart shows you the number of people that would be the maximum allowable under the fire code for that space. Like
Right.
the meeting-
Well, that won't be my
Right.
question. That's not the area of my question. My question is, so that your testimony is that it's not provided here. I just quickly did it, but your testimony was that the sum of the area column is around 6,000?
I added up to 5,973, I think, and I think Jack added it up to 6,000 and some. What, did you get
I
close
get
to
6,
6,000?
I get 6,063.
Okay, I think he.
That's what I got.
That's what he got.
Okay, so
Yes.
to clarify the record, we're going to say that the total of the area column is 6,063,
Correct.
Correct.
and the code is 1 space per 200, and so you're slightly over, so you're around between 30 and 31.
Correct.
Kelly, did we round down?
You
We round
round up.
up, so we need 31
Yep.
spaces. And Kelly, is this a correct application that we're counting bathrooms and things like that that are not changing?
for an office use, it is, double check.
Yeah.
I memorized this late at night.
One for each 200 square feet of floor area.
Yeah, it just says
Inclusive
floor.
of basement,
Right,
if
so,
not used.
That's-
whereas like personal service may include
That's-
storage spaces and things like that, this would not.
Right, that's what I'm remembering, some past cases where we excluded the bathroom, but in this case, an office is required for all floor areas. So I just wanted, okay, and we're not talking about the basement, so we're talking about 6,063 square feet, so we need 31 spaces, okay. And then, what do you understand non-exclusive to mean? Does that mean that it's first come, first serve for the leasing?
In general, yeah.
Okay.
Well, first come, first serve between Grace Chapel and yourselves. It's not like a free-for-all to the neighborhood because they have the right to their private property.
Yeah,
And now
so-
you have a lease that gives you the right, and we know the farmer's market's there on Wednesday afternoons.
Yeah.
So it's not like a free-for-all of all businesses, it's the two of you and the farmer's.
No other questions, thank you.
I actually have a
Go ahead, Jeff.
On this existing plan, it shows a fenced-in outdoor area. Is that part of your property, or is that the adjacent building?
It is part of the property.
Is that paved?
It's grass. It
Okay.
goes back, where the Brick and Brew parking lot ends. We go like up against that.
Okay,
And then we own, this is just the diagram of the building. We actually did have to get a survey done for our mortgage. So we do own some grass area behind there,
okay.
so.
So it's not parkable space as it is right now?
No, it's grass and there's like a tree or two. And again, right behind that is the
Is the
old
parking lot.
township building parking lot.
Got it, thank you.
Okay. Anything else, Ed?
No, the only statement I have, I was always perplexed as why you didn't talk about the issue of it's currently non-conforming and it should continue, it's still non-conforming. And is this use a less intense use or a more intense use than what exists there currently?
I would say this is most likely less intense than what is currently there, because this is an office space, so I believe the, current meeting space is 60 square feet, I believe.
One spot per every 60 square feet for
We're
meeting
talking
halls.
about one spot
If
for every
that's how it's
200.
classified.
And as I did testify, and I can literally outline the employees that we have, we're not talking about 30 employees.
And would you accept a limitation on the number of offices for expansion that you'd ever have in this space? I thought I'd heard 17.
Yeah, office, like, what do you mean by number of, like,
Well, now
number?
you have 12 employees. And, there could be growth, and there's certainly space in this building for growth.
Yeah, mhm.
We're negotiating for parking spots.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm trying to figure out how many offices could you limit this to?
Yeah, we could do that if that's what is needed, but as we just said, it definitely is cutting down the usage from what is currently in place.
Okay, I'm not asking.
Yeah.
You didn't say you have to do anything. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Bill, anything else? Jesse? Okay. I don't know. Thank you, Jack.
Yep,
I suppose
thank you.
we should ask Paul
Yeah, we'll ask
to
Paul
come
so
back
he
up.
can answer some questions.
Sorry, took the exhibits.
So, Paul,
Yes.
you heard some of the questions, right? I drive by Grace Chapel all the time, and I've never seen the parking lot full. Do you ever have a period of time when there's not abundant or sufficient parking for your needs?
Excluding funerals and weddings and such, and Sunday mornings pre-pandemic, no, we're in good shape. And at the last meeting, I testified that it was between half and three-quarters full, but that I was typically not around during the day. So I checked with our facilities manager, and he said that a quarter to 50% would be more accurate. So,
Thank you. Jessica?
No questions, thank you.
No question.
Bill?
Yep, so we should probably clarify for the record. So typically, are you doing weddings on weekends and funerals almost really kind of be any day? Is that probably about right? Or do you do weddings in the middle of the week too, or?
I'm working off my memory, and
fair.
pandemic really put a dent in weddings in terms of big ceremonies. I know that we have had weddings on Fridays.
Okay,
I would say we typically would not have them midweek. But that's, again, just memory. okay? But
And when
funerals.
you do have, what time of the day are they usually?
If it's a Saturday wedding, it could be any time. I mean, we've had them at 10 o'clock, we've had them at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, so it's pretty much,
Would you say they're primarily on the weekends?
I would say
Funerals
they're
and weddings?
primarily on the weekends, yeah.
Okay, that's what I figured. And then just two very practical questions are specific. I don't know if you know the answer, but maybe take your best shot. Do you know how much linear pew space you have for your, you
In our
know?
main sanctuary,
Yeah,
no, but I know the fire code gives us 500.
Yeah, that's not,
That's
Yeah.
not relevant, okay.
so the code has two tests for a church, for its
Right.
parking. One is, as Kelly said, one space for every 3 fixed seats, or we could say, one space for every 5 linear feet of pew
Right.
space. And the other says, or one space for every 60 square feet of floor area that's available for your congregation. So storage, private space, others, it would. Do you have a rough idea how large the main congregation room is?
No, I don't. I could certainly get that and get it back to you.
Okay, I'm just wondering, trying to figure out,
You want to do your job well, I
yeah,
understand that.
and the point was to try to make sure that if this approval, which is going to be somewhat derived from the parking you're making available, whether that is creating some issues other places that we should at least be conscious of in making the decision.
I would say probably not, because their use is Monday through Friday. And the only time that we use, other than, like I said, weddings and funerals, the only time that we use our main sanctuary, other than like a Christmas Eve service or something like that, is going to be a Sunday morning.
Okay.
Okay?
Just for clarification, the 5 foot per linear feet is not in our ordinance. I was thinking that was a fair assessment based on the fact that there are fixed seats, but not fixed individual seats. It's one space for every 3 fixed seats, where capacity is not determined by the number of fixed seats, one space for every 60 square feet of floor area devoted to patron use. So, however.
Do you have a sense of, in relation to, we have the testimony that the rock space is roughly 6,100 square feet. Is your sanctuary that's open to the public, that space, is that roughly the same, a little bit smaller, bigger, just on a relative general?
If you took all the partitions out, I would say that our main sanctuary is probably slightly larger,
Okay,
but that's just a guess.
right. Okay. Thank you.
That's it.
Yes.
okay. But from a non-mathematical, non-measurement, practical standpoint, there has not been a point where your lot's overflowing and all of that. You said it runs about 25 to 50% occupancy for your
During
use?
the week. During the week. No, on Sundays it's full.
Right.
And we have informal arrangements with Bryn Mawr Trust and the little shopping center next door to use their lots for overflow parking.
Okay. Anything else, Jesse?
I know Bill has asked my questions for me, so I am all set. Thank you.
Right. Anybody else? I have nothing else. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
George, you have anything else?
Just wanted to run through the available public parking spaces there real quick for you. And that is actually Exhibit A3, if you still have them. And I'll just put them up on the screen if that is easier.
You can put it on the screen, but we do have it.
Sure. So we have Grace Chapel here, which is the 66 spots. Then we've got the Township building, which has 19 metered spots, and they also do lease, and we tried to get some of the spots, individual spots to businesses in the area. So we've got 19 plus the Oakmont parking lot. I think that's 40 or 48. I'm pretty sure it's 48 from memory. So that's 19 plus 48, so we're 20, 60, 67. And then the other parking spot is behind the Wagner's shop down there down the street, which is often referred to as Oakmont South, and that has another 34 spots. So, we're pushing 30, 34 and 19 and 54, and I agree. Yeah, we're right about 100 public spots, not counting on-street parking and things like that. So we think, given the restrictions of the area and the usage of the property, that we're not asking for excessive parking or parking that the area won't be able to handle. And in fact, it's actually a lesser use as far as population in the office and potentially required parking spots than may currently exist. And that's all I have. I thank you, and any other questions?
All questions answered? Yep. Okay, good. Thank you, George.
Thank you.
All right, with that, I'll ask if there's anyone present that received certified mail that wishes to testify, anyone present that received regular mail, any other residents of Haverford Township. With that, we'll close the record on this case, and a decision will be rendered either this evening, or in the event we're not able to render a decision this evening, our 2022 schedule of meetings has not been set forth at this point. So I can't publicly set the meeting. We're just going to have to advertise it, Kelly, but it would be at our first meeting for 2022, if we're not able to do it tonight, but I think we will be.
Okay,
If we get through the cases, then,
sounds good.
all right,
Thank you.
thank you. All right. So. I'm good. I was gonna ask Bill to do it, so.
Oh, okay.
We'll talk about it. Okay. Wow, that made a thud, Ed. I hope the outer box stopped breaking. All right. Our next case is Z21-32. Scott and Maureen Becker, owners of 420 Brookline Boulevard, DC folio number 2207-001700, who seek a variance from the provisions of section 182-206C6A to encroach into the required 8-foot minimum side yard setback by 3 feet to construct a 370-square-foot deck, of which 29.7 square feet will be in the setback. Property is zoned R4 and located in the 7th Ward. Are you Scott and Maureen? Come on up. So, have you guys ever been to a zoning hearing before?
We have not, it's our first time.
Okay. So you submitted this application to the township with a bunch of documents attached, right?
That's correct.
So in order for the board to examine an exhibit and discuss it, they need to be marked. And just give it a number, like a name. And that's what you just heard us go through with George, A5, A4, whatever. So, but I'm not sure from your packet which of these documents you want us to, you want to submit as an exhibit
Okay.
in your case, so.
We submitted some pictures along with our packets.
You know what? We're going to go off the record.
Off the record?
All right, so we went off the record, and Mr. Below helped you mark exhibits. Bill, will you identify the exhibits for the record, please?
Sure, but could you swear the witnesses in first, because I want them to verify on the record that I'm naming them correctly. So just swear them in first.
Okay. You say I'm old, Bill, so you're going to have to yank it when you talk. The mask off. All right. Ladies first, please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
And your full name and address for the record, please?
Maureen Becker, 420 Brookline Boulevard, Havertown, PA, 19083.
Okay. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And your full name and address for the record, please?
Scott Becker, 420 Brookline Boulevard, Havertown, PA, 19083.
Okay. Now, Bill, please identify the exhibits for us.
Sure. Off the record, we identified Exhibit A1. A1 would be identified as essentially a plot plan of your property. Is that correct?
Yes.
That's correct.
A2 would be a drawing of the existing house as well as some indication of where the proposed decking would go. Is that correct?
Yes.
A3 is an exhibit showing further details regarding footing, studs, and other work that would be done, kind of more technical with respect to the deck. Is that correct?
That's correct.
A4 establishes the type of stairs and rails that would be on the property as well as some additional joist to beam details. Is that correct?
That's correct.
A5 through A10 are photographs of the property. A5 would be a photo up close in the rear of your house where there is an existing deck.
That's correct.
A6 is very similar, just pulled back a bit.
That's correct.
A7 is another shot of the area where the proposed deck would be, but from a different angle in the backyard.
Right.
A8 would be a photo of the side of your house moving up past a white, like vinyl fence towards Brookline Boulevard.
That's correct.
A9 would be the exact reverse of that, looking from the angle of Brookline Boulevard.
That's correct.
And A10 would be
A shot from our
a
neighbor.
shot from your neighbor's property,
That's right.
That's correct.
looking at the existing deck.
Right.
Okay.
Is that it, Bill?
That's it.
Thank you. You guys want to grab those from? Now that we've gotten the preliminaries and administrative stuff out of the way, thanks, Bill. Please tell us a little bit what you would like to do and why. And to the extent you need to refer to those exhibits, just identify their exhibit names. You might say, you can see in Exhibit A10, the photo, that blah, blah, whatever you have to say.
Okay. So we would like to extend our deck encroaching into the setback of our current property. The existing deck, as you can see from the photos, the one we have up here, what is that one, 10. The materials are older, the deck is seemingly unstable and not as safe as we would like it to be. We also are seeking some more protection for our basement. You can see in some of the photos, I think A5 here, you can see there's a kind of broken down grate, which could lead to access for rodents in our home. We have had that issue. And we would like more usable space for our family outside as well.
So let's stick with Exhibit A5 just for a moment. Are you going to expand the size of the deck? You're going to widen it closer to that window?
The deck will expand to the end of the home,
So all the way to the end?
correct?
Okay.
Not beyond, though.
Okay. Jesse?
Oh, hold on.
I think so, yeah. Yes.
Okay, hi. Let's see, so when did you purchase your home?
We purchased it in 2017.
And the rear of the home as depicted in A5 and in the plans on A1, that existed in 2017 when you purchased the house?
That's correct.
And so it's your testimony that you plan to expand the deck to align with the edge of the existing rear of your home that would be 5 feet from the property line?
That's right.
And that's 3 feet further than the code allows, and therefore that's why you're here tonight.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. What, if any, utilities do you plan to have on the deck? And utilities, I mean electrical, plumbing, lighting, grill, anything, or gas, anything like that?
A grill and then some lighting, yes.
Lighting. Will you have like an electrical outlet?
So the lighting will be built into the deck, in the railing, and in the stairs, again, for the safety aspect. Right now, it's fairly dark back there, so that will help provide better lighting.
Okay. And you said the grill, is there going to be like permanent propane or anything like that, or is it going to be like a removable can?
Removable.
Okay. So no permanent gas or propane?
No.
Okay.
No heaters, nothing.
I'm sorry, no heater?
No heater, no.
Okay. Do you plan to use the underneath of the deck for storage?
We do not.
Okay. Do you plan to put a roof or a trellis or any other enclosure around the deck?
No.
Would you accept as a condition that you would not build a roof or an enclosure around the deck?
Yes.
Yes.
And that's usually the questions we ask about these kind of projects. I will defer to my colleagues. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Ed?
Yeah, the question I have is that the existing house, and it looks like an addition on the back, is already within the easement.
That's
It's
correct.
outside back.
Yep.
So you're not making, the deck is not coming any closer to your neighbor's property.
That's correct.
Okay, and if you extending back your deck, and I can't get a, there's a photograph of your neighbor's addition.
Yes.
Will your deck go out further than their addition is into their backyard?
I don't believe that it will, no. We have not measured, but I don't think so.
They seem to have a longer addition than you do.
That's right.
Okay, so you shouldn't infringe on it. And they have little small windows up on the top, so you shouldn't interfere with that. I have no other questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Jessica?
Just have a question about how you determined where your house is in relation to the adjacent property. Is it just based on the fence in the picture?
Yes.
And do you know if the fence is actually built on your property line?
We do not know.
Okay, so there's a chance that your property is further.
That's correct.
yes.
Yeah.
Do you know what the distance is between the two houses right now?
You know,
I don't know.
You don't know, okay. But it's about equal distance on either side of the fence?
about.
There's probably more room on their side than
Okay.
ours. By maybe 2 or 3 feet.
I have no other questions, thank you.
Ed? I already went to you, right? Bill?
Yep, so I just want to make it clear on the record, the variance here is really only for one side of the building, right? That you have 20-foot combined on both sides required, 8-foot minimum. And as proposed or as requested, you'll still have more than 20 combined. But what you're seeking is just the variance for the minimum on one side to go from 8 to 3.
Right.
Correct.
Right, okay, and I only have one other question, which is, have you talked to your neighbors on the side?
Yes.
And what were their views?
They were fine with it.
And I think they even said they appreciate all the improvements we've been making to our home in the time that we've been there. Because they've been doing the same on theirs. So I think they appreciate the home that's being cared for next door to them.
I don't see anyone in the audience other than you guys or another applicant. So I'm presuming there's no one from the public here to testify, but I wanted to see if you could at least tell us if you've gotten input from the neighbors.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you, that's
You're
it.
welcome.
Okay. Anything else, Jess? All right, is there anything else you guys would like to add?
No.
With that, I'll ask if there's anyone present that received certified mail that wishes to testify, anyone present that received regular mail, any other residents of Haverford Township. With that, we'll close the record on this case, and the decision will be rendered either this evening, or in the event we're not able to render a decision this evening, we would do one at the first regularly scheduled meeting for 2022. The meeting schedule has not been adopted yet, so I'm not quite sure when that would be, so we'd have to advertise that in the newspaper, but in all likelihood, we'll be able to do it tonight. The record on this case is closed. We're going to go into recess.
Did they submit their exhibits?
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't admit them on the record, but they were submitted, they're admitted into the record. So with that, we're gonna go into not executive session. We're gonna go off the record.
Off the record? We're good?
Okay. We'll reconvene the meeting of the Haverford Township Zoning Hearing Board of Thursday, December 16th, 2021, with regard to case Z21-31, Empirical Finance LLC. Jesse, are you prepared to vote?
I am.
Bill, are you prepared to vote?
I am?
Ed?
Yes?
Jessica?
I am.
And so am I. Bill, would you please take that decision?
Yep. With respect to case C21-31, I would vote to approve the requested variance subject to the following conditions. One, there shall be no more than 25 employees on site at any time. Two, no portion of the property or the premises may be subletted. Three, the applicant shall hold no more than 2 special one-day events per calendar year with more than 40 people, including staff, employees, customers, guests, patrons, visitors at any time. So just to be clear, you can have up to 2 with more than 40 people. And that would still be subject to the applicable fire code for total.
Up to 2.
Yeah, up to 2 with more than 40 people. They can hold 2 events with
Yes, more than 40.
Oh, okay, so no more than 2 special one-day events per calendar year with no more than 40 non-staff guests, patrons, customers. Okay, so, and then, there shall be no office or customer space in the basement. And the project will otherwise be used in accordance with the notes of testimony.
Okay, Jesse?
I concur.
Ed?
I agree.
Jessica?
Just have a question about the 2 special events.
Yeah.
They are allowed to have more than 40 people, or no?
40 non-staff attendees,
Up to.
up to.
Okay, I would make a motion to amend that to be a minimum of 40, because they had testified that the events typically have 80 people.
A minimum of 40?
Yeah, so
So if
that
they
if they
wanna-
have 39 people in the office,
It would
technically,
count.
it's not an event. Because they
Say what
testified
the
that they would be holding events with potentially 80 people. And so I don't want to restrict them from doing that, which if you said a maximum of 40 people, it would.
And that's why I had originally proposed.
Would you amend your motion to increase the number of people?
Yeah, I would. So,
80 total would be then?
yeah, so I was saying that 2 times a year, you can go up to, you can have more than 40 people, guests, patrons on site, 2 times a year. You can exceed that.
Then I agree.
Yeah, that's what I thought we meant, so,
Jesse?
I agree.
Ed?
yeah, that was my understanding originally.
That was mine.
Yes.
I missed. Jessica?
I
Sorry, Bill.
agree.
Yep.
And so do I. That application's approved with those conditions, 5-0. With respect to KZ 21-32, Scott and Maureen Becker. Jesse, are you prepared to vote?
I am.
Bill?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Jessica?
I am.
And so am I. Jessica, would you please take this decision?
I would make a motion to approve the application with the following conditions. The only utilities brought to the deck would be electric. There would be no storage below the new deck and no roof or permanent enclosure around the deck. And the work will be completed within 1 year in accordance with the notes of testimony.
Ed?
I agree.
Bill?
I agree.
Jesse?
I agree.
And so do I. That application's approved with those conditions, 5-0. Any other administrative, other matters that we need to discuss? Jess, Ed,
No.
Jesse, Bill?
No.
Okay, then we are adjourned. Good luck, everybody.
Thank you, guys, thank you.